which is sort of our Broadway type theater here in Hartford, is also the home for an organization called Connecticut Forum, which brings together people who are prominent in issues to have conversations about, whatever is happening to a sold-out crowd. I think the theater holds 2,800 people or so, and they brought Westmore. They had
More Steve
from Southern Poverty Law Center. Yeah, they had Jessica Williams, who's the young Black comedian who often incorporates race into her act, and it was moderated by Michelle,
from NPR.
Yeah, I don't think she likes me.
She didn't see you or know you. That's the problem.
I know. And they planned a program that really was just talk. It was entertainment, and they did not consult with any local leaders or invite anybody locally to participate in part of the conversation. And they said they were going to talk about
conversations on race.
Conversations on race, and they had nobody there from Black Lives Matter.
In a generic sort of way.
Yeah, or the
in
Black
downtown Hartford, which is
how do you talk about racism?
Segregated cities.
Yeah, how do you talk about racism at this time? Even then, this was like, 6-7 months ago, and not have a single person there from Black Lives Matter, which is the most...
Assuring there will be no follow-up, no organizing.
Exactly, nothing. But they did offer Bishop Selders some free tickets. So he said, hey, he called me one day, he's like, hey, meet me at the Starbucks. Where it all goes down. And I was like, alright, meeting John at the Starbucks, let's see what happens. We go there and he says, do you know about this?
It's not inexpensive either.
Yeah, the tickets are expensive, so it's not even like the people of Hartford can necessarily go. He said, no, but we hold aside 20 tickets for people from the neighborhoods to go. I'm like, 20 tickets out of 2,800 seats? Congratulations. So Bishop Selders and I met at Starbucks and he said, do you know about this event? Are you going? And I said, I'm not going to that. That doesn't sound like anything I want to be part of. And he said, wow, I was wondering if you would be willing to disrupt it. And I said, oh, well, that I can do. So with a team of other folks, including one of our wonderful medics and some other people to provide a distraction in the back, and also to help ensure my safety, because we were convinced that security was just going to rush in and drag me out right away. We showed up, and after the moderator had introduced all the people on the stage, our folks who were up in the back, I think there were only 4 of them, but they were so loud. They sounded like they were 50 people started chanting, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And then when everyone turned to look at them, I stood up with a megaphone that I had smuggled in my bag, which they hadn't really checked, which was really, I'm not sure. I really thought they would like
They'll be checking it from now on.
They will be checking it from now on. And I stood up and I gave a 1-minute talk about how, well, talk isn't enough, and the people there might be wondering, why is she here disrupting us? We're the good people who want to talk about racism, and really imploring people to think about what voices were missing from the stage. They weren't really representative of the work that was going on the ground, or the real issues that were taking place, and that it wasn't enough for people to just come and listen and then walk away and feel like that was their contribution. They did their part. They're now part of the work of undoing racism, because just sitting there in that theater and clapping politely and cheering for Jessica Williams doesn't change anything. So then security did come near us, and so we marched out chanting Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, and we got out into the lobby, and the woman who runs the theater was standing right there, and I thought, oh well, if she's going to stand there, might as well talk to her. So we had a big long conversation about what had just gone down, and she ended up.
It was all videotaped and shared later, which was powerful.
It was videotaped.
Today's awesome.
It was videotaped, and she ended by saying, well, I'll be in touch with you. I'd love to do more on this. And we said, sure, yeah, ball's in your court. I mean, we haven't heard from her since. But that was a very divisive action, because people didn't immediately get why we had done it, because folks were already gathered together to talk about race. But once people started seeing the video and were really understanding the reason why we were disrupting talk, because it was talk absent of action, people said, oh, I understand what that means. But I personally took a lot of flack.
And it shifted, because Heather and I were in there for the whole thing, and it shifted the conversation so that they started talking about Black Lives Matter, and they were reacting to they kept saying, oh, why didn't she stay and talk, me and Janée, why didn't she stay and talk? Because they couldn't, they could have done more from the stage, but it did mean that Black Lives Matter and activism and disruption were a part of the conversation, which I don't think they otherwise
Would have been.
would have been.
And I actually had to go back to the Bush Note a couple of nights ago. And I was walking out and we had to wear name tags and I'm thinking, are they gonna let me in? But they did.
The names have been changed.